We need anyone joining the school, whether they be support assistants, the recently appointed caretaker, teacher training students, need to understand what our approach is to promoting positive behaviour, the reward system we have with merit, so that all staff are free and encouraged to give children rewards and merits for maybe good effort or politeness, being helpful or kind. And that's a very important part of our school, because the consistency of that approach is what secures its success. Right. So everyone knowing what we do, how we do it, is really important.
It's a total package. I take tremendous pleasure in saying our youngest student in school is 2 and our oldest is 82. We've now got 300 adults who come in here for adult education. And I spent a long part of my career being very depressed about deprivation and social inclusion and thinking, well, what is the answer to it, you know? But the Berlin Wall's come down, communism has gone, Nelson Mandela has been released. Anything can happen, can't it? And if you have that confidence that things can happen, and I believe there's a blueprint for deprivation, and it's not about a life on welfare, it's about aspiration, confidence, it's about giving skills, and it's about getting people back into the workplace. So that's a message not just for children, but that's a message for parents as well. So we are re-skilling, well in some places not re-skilling, in skilling for the first time, some of our population here. And they're starting to raise their eyes towards an horizon. And they're starting to get aspiration for the future. Celebrate the diversity and the different cultures of people. You know, and I was talking to a Muslim lady the other day, and she was quoting me something from Muhammad, and she said that Muhammad made people different so that they could get to know each other. Well, that's a wonderful statement, isn't it, you know? To celebrate a gypsy culture, a Muslim culture, you know, a culture of somebody who's coming from Poland, Romania, whatever, you know, and thereby, I think, is the secure society of the future.
If you weren't to know about their backgrounds, you're not going to, if a child came in and was playing up for some reason and you didn't understand why they were doing that, there's no way you're going to be able to make it better for them or try and help them to learn better. Because I think the children should really know about being different and things like that, and being and knowing they shouldn't just be all we're all the same. They should, but they shouldn't like discriminate against. They should celebrate it and be different and learn things about each other. I think.
Well, first coming into practice, I mean, I was aware obviously I had a specific number of children with learning difficulties and they needed that differentiation. But I think at the start it was more sort of, well, okay, we're going to have support from the LSA or from me as a class teacher going in there, and maybe the worksheets would be differentiated slightly. But now I'm coming to the end, I know the children so much better. I know the sorts of things that they're going to want to do in the lesson. I know that some children find it difficult to write, so I try to give them more of a discussion opportunity.
Cystic fibrosis, or did you have to read up about those?
Cystic fibrosis was something I had no knowledge about. In fact, he knew quite a bit himself, but he could only explain it to me so much. But I ended up looking into cystic fibrosis, and I found that children with cystic fibrosis generally have a shorter lifespan than most other children, well, people I should say, and then that his needs, he can't digest his food without these specific tablets, so that I researched what the tablets did for him, and he often misses a lot of class time.
Oh, right.
So it was important for me to research what goes on in their body, and it's just like he's always sick and ill and things like that, and I just had a better understanding of why he wasn't in the classroom and for what reasons, and he's always at the doctors and things like that. Of course.
So when he was in the classroom, then you obviously, I assume, had to deal with catching up, because he'd obviously missed significant
periods of time. So what we did in maths, he knew what to do, but say for the first, to catch him up, we'd get him, instead of having him do all the work prior to, we'd have him do a question or two to see if he grasped those concepts, and if he didn't, we'd work with him specifically on those math questions, and then, but in most cases we found that he did get them because he was quite an intelligent boy. So then we'd catch him up real quick on 1 or 2 questions on what we'd been doing, and then we'd work with him for about 10 minutes, specifically 1-to-1, to get him where we were at that point, and then he'd have no problem. He was really, he grasped the maths quite nicely. I would say that was probably his strength. But English was quite a bit different because he had more troubles. He knew how to write things, but his spelling was quite difficult. He had a lot of difficulty spelling, so he'd often leave during English time to go with a 1-to-1 support worker who just worked specifically with spellings. Yeah, because he was way. But one boy, he was from the Philippines, and his English was really, really lacking. But he wasn't like slow in any ways. He just couldn't speak. So for him, we used a lot of images, because that helped him learn, because he didn't necessarily understand exactly what we were saying. So we'd use photographs and show Julia, what we wanted or what we were trying to accomplish. So if we used photographs, he grasped the concepts looking at the photographs as opposed to, just speaking and him not understanding. It was just a way of trying to get him to learn what we wanted to learn, instead of just using the language, because sometimes he was an artist, so really, really good drawer, so it just made it a lot easier for him.
And an IEP, and that he was my lower ability pupil. The first observation I had of him was that he didn't know what came after a full stop when was asked, so I noted that I actioned it by explaining to him that it was a capital letter, and then I noted to myself that he has a very basic knowledge of English. And
has he progressed from that?
Yes.
And that was a direct result of work you planned?
Yeah, then one of the last ones I've done, good reading for him, but generally a little slow, clear. Although he has a clear voice, and he uses punctuation marks well. So he really did that you have to pause after full stop, which was a direct link to my full stop from the 8th of May.
So this now, not only the work that you have with the class teacher in terms of content of the planning, your marking, but also that you've now got this huge picture. You can see how enormous the picture of teaching is.
With each year there were 2 distinct ability groups, plus a lad who was additional learning needs. So there's a lot of differentiation going on in that class. Taking advice not only from the teacher, but there's quite a big support staff in that class. I spoke to them a lot. A lot of them had responsibility for certain groups of tables. So they were a fantastic source of information, and I would say, what about this worksheet? Does this work? I'm learning and having to find out. I mean, at first, the first couple of weeks, you're just sort of not clutching at straws, obviously, but you're giving them worksheets, but you're finding your feet, and you're wondering which way they're going to learn best, and then you soon realise worksheets, forget it. Perhaps you might need something to show a bit of evidence, but it was practical, kinesthetic sort of learning. And the difference, there was one lad whose behaviour and his attention is quite fleeting. You gave him something to write and he hated it, but doing things, he loved it, and you sort of tapped into that, so you could differentiate that way. You could have, but not just him, all the children like doing things as well, so you would rotate the activities. But it's trying to tap into the way that they learn, as much as for when you're differentiating what they're going to learn and how they're going to learn it.
This is very much this personalised learning agenda, which is so important in education at the moment, trying to tailor learning and teaching to the learner's needs. I mean, that's very sensible advice you're given there. Obviously, the time that you have, one of the common comments that I and others hear is students, we haven't had time to do X, Y, Z. And within the lesson, I mean, you can't change the amount of time. Time is fixed, isn't it? But it's how you utilise that time and the role that you undertake. So have you, in the course of your practices, tried to direct your time to particular groups, like focused activities, so they've got differentiation by your time?
I have done that. I have tended to concentrate on the lower ability, but that's a failure of mine, I think, just to do that. I think I have to be pushing the higher ones as well, so that's what I've started to do in the last week or so. I've been going.
That's interesting.
I sort of, my natural inclination probably is
support,
to go to,
obviously.
But I sort of gave myself a bit of a good talking to. And then I come on Juliet.
Yes.
So I've been going to a group course and just giving them something a little bit more challenging, sending them challenge cards. I'll come back in a minute to see how you're getting on with those.
Yes.
That sort of thing, you know? So that I'm keeping an eye on the whole class, but a particular eye on that group.
Yes. I wouldn't mind seeing some of those challenge cards.
I just don't think they've got
don't worry.
Sorry,
no problem. But if you can talk through examples of what you would do with
what
them.
I would do with those would be, if after an activity, I would support them through the activity, but to push them a little bit more, then an extension activity really that the others don't need.
Right.
I would then give them the challenge cards then, and there could be clues on them to find things out, to work together as a pair, because I think that's important as well, for them to be working collaboratively. And you've got some characters that want to dominate, and you've got other characters who just have to sit back, you get on with all the work sort of thing. So it's knowing which pairs to put together, because they will gravitate towards sometimes the wrong ones. So I mix them up a bit. They think it's just a random thing, but it's not. I've already worked out who's going to be with who.
Right.
So I also do a lot of is I listen to the dialogue. When I work in the classroom, I like to listen to what they're saying, because you pick up an awful lot that way. Sometimes you have to tell them, no, that's not what you're supposed to be talking about. But they're quite good at keeping on task. And I don't particularly... Sometimes you have to have quiet. We're writing stories at the moment. And I want them to finish them, so we have to work quietly for that, because it's just their own work and they're working quietly. But I like to see the interaction between children, and I pick up so much just listening to the dialogue between them. So I use that as part of my assessment. And then from that assessment, then I say I have my challenge cards, or we have the who, what, where cards. Go and find out, and I just extend what they have been learning that way. And it's something that some of the other children have cottoned onto, and why not? I've done quite a lot of that, but something that I've always been quite interested in is the children have physical disabilities, but mentally, okay, they have problems, they have severe learning difficulties, but not as bad as their physical disabilities. So, for example, they wouldn't be able to hold a pen.
No.
And I'm thinking of one girl who is so bright and bubbly, lovely little girl. She's 17 now, I would think, and she uses a wheelchair. And the other children were writing, those that could were writing. But I mean, how frustrating would that be for her? How awful would she feel? Put yourself in her shoes. Her classmates doing something that she can't do. So thank goodness for the internet and what have you. So using a keyboard, she's sending emails to her friends, she's sending emails, so it's using technology really. That is, with special needs, is a huge thing. I know I'm not brilliant with technology, but it is absolutely fantastic. And it's a different thing, but it's something which I think is very important. Because in our school, I coordinated the school council.
All right.
And when I wasn't really asked, they said, oh, you do that, Juliet. I said, oh, okay. I thought, what am I going to do? Because I wanted it to be something that everybody was part of, and that was quite difficult. And that girl, she's, this year, she's chairperson at the school council, so she's typing out the notes, she's typing out the minutes. She's sending emails to the council. And she's head girl as well. So, it's brilliant, it's fantastic, and it's personal to her. Her life, something has happened. We've given her the tools that has really turned her life around, really. And not just one person, but a whole team of people have given her the tools to really improve her quality of life. And her mum and dad are so happy.